What if someone told you someday there would be lots and lots of gigantic fish statues all over Erie? Would you think they were crazy?
The three little fishies went off on a spree, and they swam right out to the sea.
Not if you're Susan Black-Keim, Vice President of Gannon University's Advancement Office, who envisioned a grand-scale public art project which would not only place art throughout the greater Erie area, but would also endow future projects. But as America's most famous philosopher and our greatest inventor, Thomas Alva Edison, would tell you, great ideas are 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If Go Fish was ever going to have a chance to hatch and swim the sidewalks of the greater Erie area, then Susan Black-Keim knew she needed to assemble a hard-working, dedicated team of volunteers.
So I spent several months last summer talking to different community leaders about a volunteer who had the capacity to take an idea, put together a team, and lead that team to create something entirely different.
We needed people from every walk of life, every expertise, people from logistics, people who had planned events before, people who had worked with printing, people who'd worked in advertising like myself, people who were connected in the community and knew people and sponsors and patrons to purchase the fish. So it was a huge team effort, and the fact that we picked who we did, I think, had a major effect on the project itself.
The first 6 weeks was snail's pace. I think we sold like 5 fish within the first 6 weeks, and he said, well, that's not too bad. Then it got creeping up to 30, and we weren't quite sure at that point even if that was going to be a success for us. But then we ended up with 60, and we thought, well, that should be a nice goal. And that was at the time in early May where we started to put out the fish, and they were on display for the community. And as a result of that, then we had people coming to us and saying to us, is this what you've been talking about?
These whimsical statues are a new kind of public art, loosely referred to by their fans as Animania. And Animania is a phenomenon that's sweeping the country. In every Animania city, public awareness of the arts is raised and tourism is increased. Tourism, though, of a different kind, internal tourists. Internal tourists are people who live in a city and rarely visit their own local attractions. And as an attraction, Animania has proven to be a very strong magnet. Witness all the people, young and old, seen this summer strolling the downtown streets of Erie, visiting, touching, and photographing fish. Animania began in Chicago with Cows on Parade. Buffalo's project was called Heard About Buffalo. Erie's Go Fish project is perhaps the most unique of all because we live in one of the very few Animania cities not to use an off-the-shelf production mold. Erie's Go Fish are completely original, designed by local sculptor David Seitzinger. After reviewing all his sketches, the Fish Commission selected 2, one vertical and one horizontal. David then created 2 tabletop models, and these were enlarged and sent to molded fiberglass in Union City, where the fish molds were built. Erie's Go Fish are interesting, and that both sides are completely different.
When you think about a three-dimensional piece or a piece of sculpture in full 3 dimension, you really want to make it interesting from any view. Any place anybody can view this from, it should be an interesting piece. So you try to get away from symmetry. If you look at this fish from the front or the back, you realize that it actually has a bend to it. The fish, it might be a little bit exaggerated, but it makes it more interesting. The tail kicks off the one side, and truthfully, this side is flatter than that side. That side is fuller, which actually makes it look like it's kind of swimming around in a circle. And that was important to me because no matter where you stand, you get sort of an interesting, non-symmetrical view of this fish.
Perhaps the best part of Go Fish is that while trolling the streets and sidewalks of Greater Erie, you get to meet some really wonderful people. People like Sister Mary Miller, the director of Erie's Kids Cafe and the Emmaus Soup Kitchen. Sister Miller was first made aware of Animania when she saw Toronto's Moose in the City exhibit and believed a similar exhibit here could be very valuable in raising awareness for the Kids Cafe and children living in poverty. When You Fish Upon a Star does that and so much more.
The staff was sitting around kind of brainstorming the idea of the Go Fish project in Erie and thinking of rhyming words in light of the fact that this would be a children's fish. And wishing and fishing were obviously rhyming words from our early days, and the notion of when you wish upon a star is wonderful. The Disney theme song, and it's when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. And for these children of the inner city, that's an important concept because many of them have a difficult background. Many of them have several strikes against them to begin with, and so, but every child can wish. And so we settled on as the children shorten it, they call it their wish fish, but the official title is When You Fish Upon a Star.
Sadly, one Go Fish artist is no longer with us, but her work still is, and there could be no greater tribute to a bright and cheerful life than the bright and cheerful fish she designed. Schoolin is alive with color, just as her creator, art teacher Evelyn Askey-Zaleski was.
We got that idea from Evelyn's drawing of what she thought would be beautiful on the fish, and we took the idea and we did the painting of it. And at the time when Evelyn came up with the idea, she only had a few colors for the watercolor paints. So what we did is we took her idea and we
punched it up a little bit.
Yeah, made the colors a little brighter, added a little bit of glitter, some things that we thought that Evelyn would like.
Mrs. A.Z. was once named Pennsylvania's Art Educator of the Year. Spend an afternoon with her students, and it's not hard to see why.
She was full of ambition. I think the main reason she taught wasn't because she liked art or wasn't because she loved children or was a people person. I think it was because she actually cared about where these kids were going to end up and how these kids were going to do in life. And I think that was her main purpose for teaching, was to make a positive impact on our lives.
Andiamo Pescara is Italian for Let's Go Fishing. It's also one of the best examples of found art you'll find anywhere. Located at 6th and Sass, designer Evan Everhart used old discarded pieces from Erie's historic Marshall home's recent restoration. We caught up with him signing autographs at an Erie Seawolves game.
The seaweed was an idea. I wanted to go with a design that made the fish look like an actual fish. And the scales on the fish are from the sponsor's house that he's restoring. They were the old downspouts that are made of copper. The fish is painted with a real good automotive finish. It kind of changes colors as you go around it.
Think of all the great shows that played on Broadway over the last 20 years. Les Miserables, Sunset Boulevard, Rent, The Phantom of the Opera. 20 years of Broadway's best has now come to Erie. Well, the playbills anyway. Meet the Ziegfeld Flounder, decked out for a night strolling the Great White Way with playbills from Go Fish artist Richard Davis's own private collection.
The body of it is made up of playbills and fabric from costumes that I've made over the years that I've have scraps of, cut into scales. And the playbills are all my personal playbills over the last 20 years of going to theater on Broadway. So there's lots of different memories on those. And then there are Swarovski crystals on the face of the fish, and then turkey feather headpiece on the bottom, and then fringe along the back, and then fringe on the tail with sequins.
Good to go.
Here's your fish, Walnut Creek.
On a cold and windy day in May, Walnut Creek Middle School art teachers Doug Vickery and Debbie Longo unveiled their students' latest art project, Red, White, and Bluegill, Go Fish's first international ambassador of peace and goodwill. Red, White, and Bluegill celebrates the world's longest peaceful border, that between the United States and Canada.
So one of the ideas that we came up with was to have images of Canada on one side and images of the United States on the other. And two of my students, Camille and Megan, came up with that idea. They were trying to think of across the pond or across the lake, you know, showing a sign of friendship across the lake or our neighbors.
Erie's only Go Fish Fish that's located in the water is more than a Go Fish Fish. It's a game, a history lesson, and if you get real close to it, it's a great way to get your feet wet.
In putting together the fish, working with the newspaper, again, the basic concept was the old riddle of what's black and white and red all over. Well, the answer is a newspaper. So what I decided to do then was to make my fish a particular character, in this case, Patty the Perch. And what Patty does is tell a narrative story of her travels in the bay, out into the lake, exploring the sunken ships, and bringing the names of the ships back in the form of the word search.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Go Fish is also a book, and it's jam-packed full of beautiful photographs by Chicago-based photographer Denise Kime.
So there are two parts to the project, is, you know, showing off the fish and showing off Erie and how great Erie is in the summertime. And I really tried to incorporate the environment and where the fish were placed into the photograph to make it look like they were somewhere in something, that it wasn't just sitting on a street corner. I really tried to incorporate the beautiful landmarks in Erie if I could. One of the special things I did get to photograph was the unveiling of the Pisces puzzle at the Gertrude Barber Center. And everybody came out for it, and they were all so excited, and each person that was there really got to be a part of it and paint certain things, and they were so proud of their fish. It was the most exciting time that I've seen surround the fish. And their innocence and enthusiasm for what it was outstanding and very encouraging. I was having a hard time photographing the fish near our lake. They just tended not to be placed in a very good position to include the lake in the shots. And then I ran across the fish at the Erie Daily Times, and it's got the fountains running, and happened to be a big blue sky day with big white puffy clouds, and I really tried to use the water around the fish to make a funny but interesting portrait.
As the official Go Fish Fish started sprouting up all over the city, something completely unique, something completely eerie started to happen. Go Fish aficionados began making their own homemade fish. Affectionately dubbed the unofficial fish, these homemade fish were suddenly everywhere, catching the fish commish off guard. The unofficial fish were the surprise hit of the summer.
And one of my favorite stories is a friend of mine, her daughter had very long hair, and she one day decided, I want to get it all cut off.
The fish was mostly for me because I had, like a week after school, I had gotten my hair cut and it was down to here. And so I got it up to here. When I got it cut, the day after I got it cut, I started having second opinions and I cried for 3 hours straight.
They love it, they've named it, they take it in and out every night. And then it actually got their neighborhood to make all kinds of fish. So they have fish up and down their block. And
beginning of the summer, my husband thought it would be fun for the kids to do a project, and we wanted to keep with the community spirit. So he cut them out of plywood, and the kids decorated and painted them. And I made sure they were feminine looking because there's 3 girls living here, and it's been a lot of fun.
Erie loved its Go Fish Fish. But if you were fishing for true love, Go Fish kind of true love, you'd have to visit a couple of unofficial lovebird fish out in Lawrence Park.
The fish started the whole theme through our whole rehearsal dinner. We had fish tablecloths, watermelon carved in the shape of a fish cookies people had made, and it just added a really nice, unique twist. The children loved it that came in from out of town. We had a fish piñata that they broke open, and it just added a real nice, unique twist to our wedding.
Not all unofficial Go Fish were made out of plywood and cardboard. Some were made out of, well, candy.
And this particular fish, the gumball fish, is really on the unofficial tour of the Go Fish map of St. Vincent's. As families are visiting the fish that are outside of St. Vincent's, they always come in the lobby and once again get out their cameras and take an official portrait in front of the gumball fish.
Cynthia Jepson and her niece Alex had a lot of fun touring all the Go Fish fish. They turned it into a family event, and when they got home from a busy day of fishing, they created their own school of unofficial fish.
We drove around in the van and just took pictures of the fish and walked around a bit and took pictures and more pictures and more pictures.
I think a lot of people just drive by them, and you really, really miss all the details if you drive by. We walked, and you get to touch them and look at them, like the one in the courthouse that has all the population with all the slashes and all the details. You really need to get out and look at them and touch them and really read them.
A true Go Fish fish is not a fish without a tail, and Erie's Go Fish fish is a fish with a lot of tails. A lot of great stories. And the best is the story of how the Erie Fire Department Engine Company No. 3 got themselves an official fish. It all started with the installation of the base of catfish tails, which was accidentally delivered to the firehouse at 12th and Sass. As soon as the mistaken delivery was discovered, the fish commish had to jump into action.
Well, I hurried up and got in my car and went over to them and said, "Oh my gosh, we're in the wrong place. Cable access television is up the street." Well, by the time I got over to tell the guys, "Oh my gosh, we're in the wrong place," one of the firemen came out of the firehouse and was so excited that they were getting a fish because they saw this big base coming.
We thought it would be cute to have a Dalmatian fish. And so we looked into it, and we found it was rather expensive, and we really couldn't swing the money for that.
So when I told the guys we were in the wrong place, I had to tell the fireman, "I am so sorry, I'm in the wrong place. This isn't where this fish belongs." He was very, very, very disappointed. He asked me, "We really, really want to fish. What can we do? Tammy, can you call the mayor? We protect this city from fires. We should really have a fish here. Can we do anything? Can you call the mayor?" And I said, "Well, you know, we have several fish that are still looking for homes. You know, I will suggest the firehouse to one of our patrons as a potential location."
Being resourceful, the firemen decided to make their own fish.
And so we hunted around and found a piece of white cardboard in a dumpster, to tell you the truth, and from the water department next door. Got a piece of wood lath from the ladder truck, staple gun, stapled it together, cut the fish form out and used a black paint marker and put a nice smile on it. Made a Dalmatian fish, put black spots on it. And we spent a whole half hour making that darn thing, you know.
The Dalmatian fish ended up on the front page of the newspaper and stirred up a lot of attention as one of the city's first unofficial fish. The fish commish found a patron, and soon Beach House Fair was installed in front of the firehouse. And the Dalmatian fish?
It ended up back in the same dumpster it started, is what had happened.
On a warm August evening, the Erie Seawolves faced the Bowie Bay Sox. Erie needed a win to gain a slot in the Southern Division Championship Series. It was also Go Fish Fan Appreciation Night, and what a night it was. Erie won the game, and the Go Fish fans had a chance to meet their favorite Go Fish artists.
People are bringing shirts, pictures, albums, stuffed animals, all the things you can imagine to have different artists sign because they want them to have something personal from the people who actually created the fish.
We're in from New York City. We drove 8 hours in order to come to this game and see the fish.
The fish is done entirely in gold leaf. It's the gills are 22 karat and platinum gold, and the main body is 23 karat gold, and the undercarriage is 18 karat gold, which is a lemony gold leaf. And the silver is actually aluminum leaf because the silver leaf would have turned black in the weather. So it's actually a very precious metal fish.
And I think that the fish here, which we saw a few weeks ago, that's why we came back, are so much more imaginative than what we had in New York. They really are great.
We did fish sticks. It's a third and state. Weber Murphy Fox sponsored it, my firm. And what we did is we took the fish, instead of just painting it, we kind of broke it up into pieces, and it moves in the wind and glitters at night with the reflection. And it was just to try to do something different than just paint the fish, that's all.
I think the opportunity to kind of do that kind of public expression was very freeing for a lot of artists and people that aren't necessarily professional artists. I mean, I'm not a professional artist, so to speak, but it was a neat opportunity to kind of put a public piece of art out there for lots of different people. So competitive, maybe good-naturedly competitive, but I mean, certainly not cutthroat competitive.
My fish is entirely covered with words that are very upbeat words, like live, love, laugh, be happy, hug, praise. All very, all very upbeat, positive words, but the whole design is very whimsy.
I like to, there's a bacon fish and a fat fish, and I ate those fish.
You're looking at one of the last photographs taken of the sturgeon general. There he sits, happy and content, at the corner of 10th and Sass, until the early hours of July 20th, when...
It was our greatest fear all along, that somebody would steal a fish.
On 7/20 at approximately 1:30 in the afternoon, we received a call from Verizon staff saying that the sturgeon general, which was positioned outside of their business, bolted down to the sidewalk on a cement base, had been stolen. Perpetrators overnight must have came by with tools in hand, unbolted the base from the sidewalk area, and absconded with the sturgeon general. To the present date, we have no clues of where the fish might be.
The community reaction to this has really been awesome, unbelievable. It's a really unfortunate event that it happened, but it just really showed how much the community pulled together.
Local photo developers all agree nothing was better for business than Erie's Go Fish project. In fact, Mary Pat Lynch has seen more pictures of the Go Fish fish than she's seen of Presque Isle and Waldemar combined.
One of the things that I have noticed about the Go Fish project that makes it so great is that all the children can enjoy all the fish, and the families are going out taking pictures of all the children with the fish and the different fish.
Mary has a very unique Go Fish tale. Besides being the unofficial Go Fish historian, she's also a Go Fish artist.
I am a quilter. I'm the historian of the Hands All Around Erie Quilt Guild, and I thought it was only fitting that I do something for all the fiber people out there, the Lake Erie Fiber Guild. And this is a watercolor quilt, and on a watercolor quilt it goes from dark to light, and so we cut out many circles and we put dark circles to light circles to create a watercolor pattern.
And finally, the night everyone was waiting for, the Go Fish Fish Market, or official Go Fish auction. Held at Gannon University's Yale Alumni Ballroom, the evening glittered. It sparkled like the sun glistening off a Lake Erie walleye. 300 people decked to the nines, registering for bid paddles, plotting strategy, meeting Go Fish artists, and of course, getting autographs.
Tonight is a huge celebration. It's a celebration of the community, it's a celebration of all the patrons, the artists, and we're just thrilled that the community has embraced the project like it has.
The first fish auction was When You Fish Upon a Star from the Kids Cafe. Jim Rutkowski was the winning bidder, and Jim has great plans for this fish. Its new home will be here at Our Lady's Christian School. All the students in the school will contribute wishes, and all these new wishes will be put into a book of wishes, a sort of time capsule for future OLC alumni. But first, When You Fish Upon a Star is in need of some TLC.
Well, this fish will have a renewing life because Conrad Krause and the Kids Cafe are going to repair it. It lost some eyes, and some of the wishes are torn and are falling apart. And what they plan on doing is, every school year, we hope that they'll put new wishes for kids from each grade on there.
The Ziegfeld Flounder claimed the evening's highest bid and found a new home with John Britton. But the fisherman with the biggest catch of the evening was Kim Scott, placing winning bids for 8 fish. The Scotts believe Erie's Go Fish project was a great way to attract visitors and a wonderful way to show off our local art community. They want as many Go Fish as possible to remain in public view to be enjoyed by all, especially children.
Well, we have seen all summer how people would walk up and down State Street, up and down 6th Street, 10th Street, wherever all the fish were. Everyone seemed to enjoy the fish, and it just seemed a shame to us to take the fish away from the people.
I'd been to Chicago and seen what they had done. I saw what they did in Buffalo. I saw what they did in Toronto. But I think what we did here in Erie, and I'm using the papal we when I say that because I did not do a fish, although my wife did. I think what they've done here is absolutely phenomenal in that it really, when you would drive around the city, you'd see all kinds of kids out there touching, climbing on them. Of course, in the case of my wife's fish, I would yell at people, "Get off of there," for crying out loud. But despite some minor vandalism in most instances, and kids being kids or adults being adults, it was just a great event.
Actually, I was at a baseball game the other night, and I met a young kid who said it was his idea to bring the fish to Erie. He said he was in Chicago and he saw all the bulls, he called them bulls, he saw all the bulls everywhere, and he said, wouldn't it be great if we could get fish in Erie and we could have this whole story about how the fish come ashore from Lake Erie. And he said, the next thing I know, there's fish all over Erie. He's like, I didn't know what happened. I swear it's my idea. This guy said it was his idea.
Swim, said the mama fishy swim. I couldn't possibly choose a favorite fish. They're all spectacular and fantabulous. They're beautiful. There's nothing better than the fish.
And they're all so imaginative. It's really delightful just to walk around and see them all.
My favorite fish is the one with the feathers on it.
My favorite fish? Fish sticks. That's Weber Murphy Fox did it, all sliced up.
My favorite fish is ellfish because it has sunglasses.
My favorite fish is the flying fish because I like the colors and I like the nose.
Okay, my favorite fish is the paper moon fish, and Addie's favorite fish is the Campbell soup fish.
My favorite fish is Sexy Sadie because she's got the itsy bitsy teeny weeny yellow polka dot bikini. Is that okay?
I have more. I like them all.
Hi friends, Vance McBride here with a weather update. Take a look at the map. It's been raining all over the place all day, and it's going to continue tonight. Today, it rained cats and frogs. But I promise you one thing. Tomorrow, it'll be much, much better. I'll see you then.
Excuse me.
They are everywhere, and their presence is causing many Erie residents to jump to their own conclusions.
People downtown have been a little jumpy lately.
Since the frogs have appeared in Erie, there's been a dramatic increase in croaking.
I think they're really great. They're causing more and more people to take a leap in faith.
An army of frogs, that's the correct way to describe a large group of frogs, is what everyone in Erie is croaking about. This public art project features more than 100 fiberglass frogs hopping along from 26th Street, north to the Bayfront, and from Liberty to East Avenue. 2001's Go Fish project, the first public art show of its kind in Erie, was such a huge success that the group of volunteers called the Fish Commish leapt to the task again with Leapfrog. Why frogs, you may ask? Well, first of all, like 2001's Go Fish, 2004's Leapfrog project is named after a children's game. Second, the Fish Commish wanted to stay with an aquatic theme, and Erie is home to 7 species of frogs. Ironically, frogs were not the first idea that leapt to mind. When the project was in its tadpole stage, sea creatures and chameleons were also proposed. But in the end, frogs just seemed to be a perfect fit for Erie sculptor David Seitzinger, who already had a sort of jump start on the project.
I like that because I was already doing frog sculptures for maybe several years before that.
Long before he got hopped up with excitement about Leapfrog, Seitzinger became known around town for his sculptures of realistic frogs in unrealistic situations, such as these little leapers riding unicycles. So making the jump from tiny frogs to the large models was just a matter of scale. Seitzinger began the Leapfrog project with a series of sketches. Then he molded 1-foot-tall models of each pose. In order to stay true to the original sculptures, Seitzinger put the frogs in the spotlight and projected their silhouettes onto the wall. After cutting the frogs' enlarged silhouettes out of foam and covering them with drywall, the prototype forms were ready to go into production at the molded fiberglass plant in Fairview. Seitzinger's models were molded in 2 poses, an 8-foot-tall standing frog and a 6-foot squatting model. But even though all of the frogs started out looking the same, the talented artists of Erie transformed them into characters as varied as the many colors of the Rainbow Connection, complete with the lovers, the dreamers, and, well, you'll see. So let's jump right into the program with a look at some of Erie's favorite amphibians. Any great work of art will cause its admirer to reflect on its meaning. And there are a few frogs that do just that, literally. Meet Crocodot by David N. Seitzinger, the son of the artist who created the frog models. When considering what to do with his naked fiberglass frog, he had a hard time deciding what colors to use, until he found one small mirrored circle in his father's studio. 2,500 mirrored discs later, this shiny squatter created its own color scheme, mirroring the colors of the skin, hair, and clothing of its admirers. Crocodot, which is sponsored by supporters of the Erie Zoo, will make the zoo its permanent home once the Leapfrog Art Show comes to an end. Before viewing the next frog, be sure to put your superstitions aside. Artist Sherry L. Robbins, creator of Leap Into Your Reflection, was apparently not afraid to take the entire city of Erie's bad luck onto herself when she grabbed a hammer and smashed 70 pounds of mirrors to create this beautiful mosaic frog. Each fragment of mirror is individually grouted with a special rubber grout that expands and contracts to keep up with Erie's ever-changing weather. Although many frog fans claim to have found interesting patterns within the mosaic, Robbins insists that she did not place the mirror fragments with any design in mind. In fact, the artist suffers from puzzle dyslexia, an ocular disorder that causes her to see objects as if they are turned backwards. So, ironically, Robbins sees the world as if she's looking at its reflection in a mirror. Looking at Erie's reflection while gazing into this frog's eyes might just give you a glimpse of the way this talented artist sees our beautiful city.
And as you look into each of the individual shards of glass, you will see that a reflection of yourself and the city behind you, which is generally a very familiar surrounding. But as you know, life changes and events occur. And what I like most, I think, about my mosaic mirror is the fact that you see everything in a new and different way.
Another example of beautiful mosaic work, Totally Healthy, sponsored by St. Vincent Health Center, features more than 6,000 3/4-inch glass tiles and took artist Elisa Guida more than 200 hours to complete. When searching for inspiration for her frog, Guida had to look no further than her own hobbies, one of which is tending water gardens. In fact, Guida once filled a water garden with tadpoles and then lovingly watched them grow up to be frogs. So when the Leapfrog project came along, it just felt right to turn her work of art into a working water garden, complete with plenty of plants and real live goldfish. Perhaps one of the most interesting aspects of Totally Healthy's creation process is simply where he was created. The fat froggy was too big to fit through Guida's door, so she had to leave him outside on her deck. But because of Erie's rainy spring, Guida built a specially made frog house on her deck in order to protect him from the elements and to keep him, as his name suggests, totally healthy. While totally healthy might be the picture of well-being, there are a few frogs that have suffered some injuries. For example, Hop-Along Cast to Knee won't be hopping anywhere anytime soon. Artist Susie McAllister designed her frog based on Hop-Along Cassidy, a popular Western TV show character from her childhood. But this cowboy must not have been quite the equestrian that his namesake once was. It appears that he may have fallen off his horse because he suffers from a broken frog leg. Fortunately for Hop-Along, his sponsor is Villa Medical Supply, where he was able to pick up a crutch and a reacher to help him until he heals. When the frog was complete, McAllister held a cast party, allowing all of the sponsors at Villa Medical Supply to sign his broken leg. However, more names have appeared since his unveiling. It seems that random frog fans have added their signatures and get-well wishes, thus giving a new dimension to the definition of public art. While Hop-Along's artist had planned all along for her frog to stand at the corner of 8th and State on only one good leg, artist Michael Prather hadn't anticipated the bull that his frog would go through. Shortly after his unveiling, Longhorned Bullfrog was jumped by a vandal and robbed of one of his horns. Prather mended the injury with an ace bandage, making a joke of the vandalism. But it was no laughing matter when Longhorned Bullfrog was jumped again, robbed of another horn, and punched in the nose.
We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news. The Leapfrogs are striking out against the senseless acts of violence and vandalism toward Longhorned Bullfrog. Here's Carla Mullinax with more.
Sean, the Leapfrogs are hopping mad about the vandalism, and they're ready to strike back. Trojan War is armed and ready to protect himself and fellow frogs, and skilled matador Senior Bullfrog is ready to take on any bull that comes his way. Experience America and Statue of Liberty are taking a frog stand by promoting freedom and patriotism. And Glow Frog has a hand in the Leapfrog's health by reminding vandals that violence causes insurance costs to go up. These frogs are asking the question, why can't we all just get along like Froggy and Flutterby, proverbial friends? Then we'd all be hoppy campers. Apparently it's not easy being green. Back to you, Sean.
Thanks, Carla. We'll be back with more as details develop.
While these might be the only sounds a frog can make in nature, a few of the leapfrogs were blessed with beautiful voices. Take one frog band, for example. This pretty peeper is an impressive musical multitasker with 7 trombones, 2 saxophones, 3 keyboards, 3 guitars, plus flutes, drums, and trumpets. Artist Tom Hubert visited several local music stores asking for donations for his talented creation, and several were happy to oblige his hobby with boxfuls of instruments. However, the only instrument on the frog that is actually playable is not an instrument at all. The plumbing pipes inside the frog's head serve as his vocal cords, allowing him to sing when the mood or the wind hits him right. Hubert, an amateur musician himself, also provided one frog band with some pieces to practice by clothing him in sheet music comprised of excerpts from his favorite jazz pieces. While one frog band is partial to jazz, Amphibious Acoustician is more into pop music. Joseph Allen Pop, the frog's creator, has been making music with his art for years. Just go to a performance of Joseph Allen Pop's Weirdo Theater and you'll see the interesting instruments that this artist creates, constructs, and then plays for his audiences. Amphibious Acoustician is perhaps one of Pop's largest created instruments, featuring chimes made of aluminum fence posts. By tugging a pull cable that extends through the frog's left leg, visitors can ring the chimes, which bounce off his insides and create a beautiful ringing, reminiscent of the Tibetan bells.
Well, I've been creating collages and musical instruments for many, many years, and I finally found the opportunity to create the largest collage/musical instrument I've ever done.
And while we're croaking about frogs who love performing for an audience, check out this two-frog feature by Bernadette Bird and Dewana Glass. Regis Amphibian and Kelly Rippet brought national exposure to the Leapfrog Project.
Want to see what you look like if you looked like a frog?
I kind of do look like a frog already.
Do
but
you?
Go ahead, go for it.
Well, this is kind of funny. This is from Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
From Nikki Dillamone, and she loves frogs, and so here we are together as frogs.
I'm so leggy.
You're so froggy. And look
wow,
at that big smile.
I never look so good.
Look at that big smile.
You know, that's the one thing I noticed that people really capture about me. It's like one of those things that sometimes you think you have something and you think, well, maybe nobody really notices. Maybe it's just all in my head, my big teeth, right? But anytime I see myself recreated either in sketch form or in puppet form, the first thing, it's like teeth and eyeballs. You know, it's teeth and even the frog doesn't have teeth. It has big, giant gums.
But there's more to you than just big, giant gums and teeth.
Oh, it's Kelly Rippet.
There's also your toenails. They've thought of everything.
They really did.
Well, thank you very much.
That's a color I frequently wear. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and you're kneeling. I was wondering why I was so much bigger than you.
I'm squatting like a real frog.
You're squatting like an actual frog.
My name is Amphibian. Bernadette Bird made this, and down to your glass.
No, you're Amphibian.
Oh, Amphibian. Yeah, you're right. And you are... Rip it,
Kelly,
rip it.
Kelly, rip it.
Again, Bernadette Bird and Downia Glass.
Good evening, I'm Amanda Post. Many Erie celebrities are crazy for feeling so green. Here's Paul Wagner with more.
I'm here with Captain Dan and Alan Carpenter, co-host of Froggy 94's morning program. And guys, how do you feel about not being the only froggy guys in town anymore?
Well, Paul, in the beginning, when the frogs began to appear, I felt a little challenged, maybe even a little threatened. But once you see how appealing the frogs are, there's no denying how popular they're going to be.
You know, folks, many of you may not know this. We're in the radio business. The talent on these frogs is unreal. In fact, the one we have is musically inclined.
Yeah, this guy here is totally Elvis, and as long as he doesn't take our donuts or start playing oldies, he's okay.
Okay, guys, a little friendly froggy competition. Back to you, Amanda.
That's music to my ears. Thanks, Paul. When we return, an update on the Erie woman who goes out walking after midnight. Stay with us.
This leapfrog game is designed to make learning fun for children. In much the same way, the Leapfrog Project was designed with the streets of Erie serving as a giant canvas for art students of all ages. At Fort LaBeouf High School, the Leapfrog Project actually became a component of the curriculum. The fall semester advanced art students were required to write a Leapfrog proposal, which included a theme, design concept, required art materials, and a detailed budget. The students used contemporary artist Chuck Close's unique work in color theory as their inspiration, creating a frog that is not only a beautiful work of art, but also an exceptional classroom project.
I thought it was a really good learning experience because it wasn't just designing and painting the frog, it was also like the whole proposal. Like we did a proposal design and we had to come up with prices.
It taught us a lot about different artists and like different techniques and what they used, and it taught us a lot about teamwork because we only had, I think, 11 days to paint this frog and get it done before the end of the school year, and so it taught us a lot about working as a team to get it done.
Another frog created by students and based on a studied artist is Leaping into Tomorrow. After a contest among students in Villa Maria Academy's Palette and Brush Art Club, junior Katie Colvin's Van Gogh-inspired illustration was chosen. She and 10 classmates painted the frog, which features a signature touch. The tulips growing up the frog's feet and legs honor their alma mater's logo. Just a hop, skip, and a jump away, the students of Piper Burley School had a hand, or actually a foot, in creating Leaping into the Future. These helping handprints were made by volunteer mentors from the frog sponsor, Erie Insurance, while the footprints belonged to the students they mentored. To find out what kind of future these kids are leaping into, just take a closer look at the footprints.
Well, it's been a banner year for teamwork among students in the Erie School District.
We met today with Erie School District Superintendent Dr. James Barker to find out more about a new district-wide approach to an old classroom project.
Students from all 4 of our city high schools had the opportunity to work together when we shifted the focus from what typically is a biology project to an art project. In other words, instead of dissecting frogs, we worked together to decorate them.
Students from Collegiate Academy, Central, Strong Vincent, and East High Schools each painted a section of We Are the Future, Let Us Leap, a frog that symbolically represents its sponsor, Erie's Promise Alliance for Youth. Each little leaper in the wagon represents a different aspect of the program's 5 promises. By giving students a project that encouraged them to work together and provided them with a positive after-school activity, this frog actually fulfilled the promises it represents. At Tracy School, it's always been totally cool to be kind. Long before this frog was sponsored by National City Bank and given to the school to decorate, Tracy students were rewarded for doing nice things for others through their Cool to Be Kind program. The school's leapfrog reflects Tracy's motto.
Tracy, where we curve into kindness, respect is riveting, and we are all a tad polite.
Every student at Tracy had a hand in Totally Cool's creation by placing their thumbprints on the rocks at his feet. The rest of the artwork was done by local artist Chuck Dill, who also created Totally Elvis for Froggy 94 and the Dominic Seedery frog, Sis. You might be surprised to learn that a few of Sis's siblings include a dinosaur, a cow, a penguin, a fish, and even a guitar. Artist Chuck Dill has participated in 10 public art shows similar to Leapfrog.
When you work in fiberglass resin, it's relatively fast. When you make modifications like this is heavily modified, you actually duplicate the material that it was manufactured with. So you end up with a hard surface. Everything is hard just like it came out of the mold. So that's the advantage of working in fiberglass.
But not all artists chose to work on the original fiberglass form. Several copycat frogs were spotted hopping up all over town, such as Frog Bless America, which can be seen outside the home of copycat artists Ron and Cindy Roof. This tribute to Kermit, created by Lori Finch and Janice Hanasick, is located on West 8th Street. Another copycat artist, Benjamin Starry, cut 2 4-foot frogs out of sheets of plywood, and his wife Joyce decorated them and named them Buttons and Bows.
The Erie Police Force has been wrestling all week with a rash of counterfeiting. Police officials are reluctant to jump to conclusions, but Sergeant Tuznik of the Erie Police Department had this to say.
This is the biggest explosion of counterfeiting I've ever seen in the city of Erie. Why, these counterfeit greenbacks are literally everywhere. And they seem to be fooling even the most discerning observer.
Just who are these incredible counterfeiters? Meet David Lejeski, the artist behind the copycat that is perhaps most true to the original form. Lejeski, with help on welding and painting from his mechanic son-in-law, built this incredible NASCAR-themed frog, starting with an aluminum skeleton covered in chicken wire, followed by spray foam and duct tape, and finished with 19 gallons of Bondo sealed with auto paint. Finally, Lejeski's 8-year-old son, an avid NASCAR fan and the inspiration behind the frog, printed every NASCAR driver's number and logo off the internet and glued them onto the frog's legs and cars. 3 months after starting this copycat project, Lejeski steered his frog out to the road in front of his house, where it has been beckoning drivers to pull over for a pit stop ever since. Another impressive counterfeit is Rodney Rebar, a 9-foot-tall, 300-pound giant interactive copycat frog. The artist behind Rodney is Bud Kovacs, owner of Kovacs Machine and Echo Valley Forge. Since he often works with steel in his shops, Kovacs was quite comfortable working in the medium of rebar and spent 3 weeks creating this large 3-toed tree toad. Frog fans can move Rodney's arms up and down, coaxing him to eat a rebar fly, which apparently serves only as an appetizer to the main course, children. Kovacs insists that he created Rodney as a joke, but the reluctant artist's masterpiece has been taken seriously by several organizations.
And we always say he goes where he's told because we have him on the back of a truck when he visits different places. He did a benefit for the Children's Museum at Porter's Restaurant. He went down to Jimmy Buffett concert. He went to Celebrate Erie, and he was quite a hit there. We even had Gaddon students. We had as many as 7 Gaddon students inside of him at one time.
But not everyone has the time or the resources to create large copycats like these. To satisfy artistically inclined frog fans on a smaller scale, the Fish Commish added a new dimension to this year's public art project, the Minis. 250 miniature replicas of Sightsinger's squatting frog were produced and sold to frog fans at Stover's Ceramic Supply. For those who prefer to work in the presence of other aspiring artists, Claytopia also sold the naked minis and the supplies to decorate them in their studio. They have been popular with individual customers and groups alike. Erie Homes for Children and Adults purchased 10 mini frogs for the participants of The Move, a program that is making opportunities for volunteerism and exploration. 10 different groups of disabled participants within the MOVE program were each given a mini frog to decorate, and a contest for the best frog was held at the program's annual picnic.
Our guest judges decided that Prince of Prince was the best overall frog, and that frog was done in fingerprints of the individuals in our MOVE group from the Whitney Way group home. The most outrageous is Tammy Tanning Tadpole here. You can see she's got a blonde ponytail and her flip-flops and her little bikini, and she even has a little tattoo. And the best name was Mr. Ribberty, and that was a patriotic, decorated frog.
The Little Leapers also made a guest appearance on Star 104's morning show. Radio personalities Craig Warble and Jessica Curry invited Gretchen Wheeler of Claytopia into the studio for the unveiling of their mini frogs, Jessica Croaky and Wardy Warble.
I think it's quite an accurate rendition of Craig. You can see he has a bandana, the frog has a bandana. You can see he wears a black vest, the frog has a black vest, and the jeans and everything. And he's holding a couple things in his hand that often around 3 or 4 in the afternoon you'll see him holding those things. So that's my frog.
And Jessica Croaky, the frog I made of my partner, I got some hair from a doll that I thought looked a lot like hers, and then I gave her a pink lipstick, and I had to cut a little shirt out, and then I had to do some enhancement maneuvers, surgery on the frog, and put a little purse and little pink toenails, and I even put a little tattoo on his back like Jessica has.
So maybe Warble and Curry's minis weren't exactly what you would label art, but there were several minis that most certainly deserved that distinction at the 2004 Leapfrog auction. Several artists who worked on the full-scale Leapfrogs were given the opportunity to also adorn smaller versions that were then auctioned off to the highest bidders. Held on October 2nd, 2004 at Gannon University's Waldron Campus Center, the Leapfrog auction allowed frog fans to purchase whatever jumped out at them. Several full-size frogs were auctioned off. However, many of the giant frogs never even made it to the auction. Their sponsors like them so much that they purchased them outright to keep at their places of business.
Well, we decided to purchase a frog and get behind the public art project because we had purchased a fish for the Go Fish. And we own an art gallery, the Katy Gallery, on West 8th Street, and after we got the fish, we had so many children that enjoyed coming up to the window, kissing the fish, kissing the window, having their pictures taken with it.
Of the full-size frogs that did jump off the auction block, Harry Ponder by Greg Mitchell brought in the highest bid of the night and was awarded to Chris Scott of Scott Enterprises.
The leaf frog is an awesome thing for the city. I bought 7 frogs today. I'd say most of them are going up to Splash Lagoon, and we're going to develop something called the Frog Pond.
It's an interesting process. I've never had a piece auctioned, so this is a first for me. You know, it was exciting. Without a doubt, it was exciting.
With so few full-scale frogs available for auction, the minis actually served as the focus of the night. 25 minis were commissioned by talented leapfrog artists, and the results were quite impressive. Going on an average of a few $100s apiece, the minis were much more affordable than the large models, allowing more fans to take a frog home. The mini that brought in the biggest bid at $1,800 was Hopper Chopper, created by David Seitzinger and awarded to Barbara Harris.
Oh, I love David's work. David Seitzinger is a personal friend. I have his fishmobile when we did the fish forth a couple years ago, and so I was very interested in his fish, in his frog this year, and I just love it. I love the movement and just the whole, everything it represents.
I'm happy to see that the people are responding and bidding, and hey, it's great.
At the end of the night, more than $19,000 were raised for the Gannon University Scholarship Fund and the Erie Art Museum, giving everyone involved with the Leapfrog Project a reason to jump for joy. So what's next for the famed amphibians now that the Leapfrog Project is over? Some have gone fishing, some golfing, some will relocate to warmer climates for the winter, some by land, some by sea, some by air, and still others will ride the rails. A few plan to hunker down with a good book, and many simply want to take the time to smell the flowers. By leaving behind their unique footprints on the lives of their fans, the Leapfrogs help to increase art awareness in Erie by leaps and bounds. Their time in the limelight is now and will forever remain a pond memory.
This is the biggest, I don't know if you like this hair. You want my hat on? I'd be a little more. This is the biggest explosion of, hi, we'll do it again. Hi, how are you? Why, this is the biggest explosion of counterfeiting I've ever seen in the city of Erie. Why, these counterfeit greenbacks are literally everywhere. And they seem to be fooling even the most discerning observer. Sorry. No, it's fine.
Look at Frog Silva. He stepped on his tree.